there's other news that is also rather spicy. And I say rather spicy because the Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, announced a lawsuit today in which he said that because the Department of Homeland Security had attempted to request voter roll information. So the voter roll information that I'm talking about here specifically, Executive Order 14399, the Ensuring Citizenship Verification, Integrity in Federal Elections Executive Order. The Trump administration ordered states to provide information on mail-in and absentee voting. So it required the U.S. Postal Service to use a very specific kind of envelope. It required tracking to be displayed so that you could tell if you were the state from here, there, wherever, where your ballot is, where your ballot's been sent to. If you're registered to vote, they let you know when your ballot's being sent out to you. So if you haven't received your ballot, you can say, hey, that's a problem. Or, hey, wait, I didn't vote. Why is it telling me that my ballot's being sent in? Also, it mandated a creation of a national list of eligible voters. By this, it just meant that states had to submit their voter rolls and say, hey, here are the people, so that the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice could say, okay, there aren't any felons on that list. There aren't people who are dead. Shout out to Chicago, Illinois. There aren't people who are not yet naturalized, meaning they're becoming United States citizens, and they might be by November, but they also might not be. Their date for swearing in as a citizen is not taking the oath, is not set in stone. So we don't know if they're going to be able to vote or not. They certainly can't vote in a primary. And then last but not least, people who just aren't supposed to be voting at all. If they are perhaps illegal immigrants, if they are those who are here on a green card, if they're just visiting, as the Monopoly board likes to say. So Josh Shapiro, right after New Jersey has been caught in a massive scandal that is getting worse by the second, for having, again, the Department of Homeland Security, through Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, former senator, saying that there were over 36,000 individuals found on New Jersey voter rolls that shouldn't be there. New Jersey announced, well, it's 6,600 so far, 6,600, and 400 of those people who should not have been voting because they're not citizens of the United States, they're not eligible to vote, they went ahead and voted anyway. So a wild time for this lawsuit to come out. I'm believing this is likely where you're going to see some type of national injunction. This is in federal court. So this over from Governor Josh Shapiro, Democrat governor of Pennsylvania, quote, breaking, I'm suing the Trump administration. I hate it. If you are the one doing the post, if you're not a news outlet, if you're not content creator, you don't need to put breaking on your thing. You just make the announcement. The journalist outlets do the breaking. There's little fun facts for you and your kids at home. Anyway, he says, breaking, I'm suing the Trump administration for holding millions of public safety dollars hostage in an attempt to take control of our elections. So public safety dollars, what does that mean? The Trump administration says, hey, if you do not go through with providing voter rolls and meeting the minimum standards set forward by the U.S. Postal Service, then the United States will withhold certain funds, meaning that you are allotted a certain amount of funding. And if you don't follow the standards, so for example, if let's say Iowa says, screw the EPA, we're going to dump toxic waste into every lake in the state, then the federal government will say, okay, while we are coming for your scalp, we're also not giving you any of the EPA grant dollars. So it's a carrot and a stick approach. Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee was pitching this idea to us here on the Tony Kinnett earlier this week. And I said, and you'll have to forgive me, I said at the time to her, although I really like Senator Marsha Blackburn, I said, that's not going to work. And the reason is right here, because you'll have a state who you'll say, okay, well, if you're not going to play by the rules, you don't get any money. And so what happens? I told you at the time, you're going to have a lawsuit. So Josh Shapiro sues and says, well, you got to give me the money because, quote, Donald Trump is actively threatening the safety of our communities and withholding resources from our law enforcement and first responders in an effort to seize control of the election system. The pearls are clutched so hard he's going to give himself carpal tunnel. It says withholding this funding would be dangerous under any circumstance, but to do so in an attempt to control our elections is a new low, even for Donald Trump. Oh, get my smelling salts, Martha. Pennsylvanians deserve leaders who protect their safety and right to vote. That's why we're taking him to court. Hang on a second. Their safety and their right to vote, what do you think is going to hurt the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in their voting here? Because, again, other states that have provided their voter roll information. So, for example, the state of Indiana, which is where we're broadcasting the show from, though all of my colleagues are in Washington, D.C. at the Daily Signal. Even though I'm in Indiana, my state submitted the voter roll stuff and the information to the federal government. You know how many people have been scraped off and thrown off of our election system in a wanton election controlling measure? Like none. Like none. I'm just not seeing the nonsense. I'm just not seeing the reason for all of the pearl clutching unless you are worried about something being found on this voter information. It seems to me that what you might do is say, okay, fine, we're going to play by your rules, and you better not throw off a single person on these voter rolls who is just changing their name or just freshly married or going to be naturalized by the election in November. Because then, a couple of weeks before the election, if this fails, you'd have a nationwide injunction, it would be a mess, and you would likely gain a lot of support. And it's not just me saying this, by the way. The reason this is such a terrible move is because New Jersey was just caught in this absolute mess of their own making. So originally it started out as, it's just this kind of a thing. It's just a little software error. And now it is turning into a lot of questions that Governor Mickey Sherrill, what to? Well, she knows how many individuals have so far at least been caught, 400 that she knows of, that voted in elections, that she says that these people who shouldn't vote that are non-citizens, which this never happens, this kind of a situation, well, she says that in this instance, they were Republicans and Democrats and independents from all over. The questions have been coming in. How many? How many of these people who weren't supposed to vote voted Republican? How many were Democrat? Because there seems to be a lot of pattern recognition going on in the country, and a lot of people are kind of curious. Here is Cheryl when getting these questions today. She is dodging it like she's on ESPN 8 The Ocho. Like she's facing off against Globo Gym. She is dodging, dip, dive, duck, and dodging.
We move very quickly because the people of New Jersey obviously deserve accountability and transparency. We're running an independent investigation right now to get to the bottom of exactly how this happened and what's going on. But, it is not a surprise to me that the federal government, that the Trump administration wants to immediately weaponize this against people.
So you're calling it weaponizing. Again, if the DHS, if the Trump administration says there are threats, we need to ensure, because there are threats, that the voter rolls are secure. Americans, according to every available polling piece of information, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, Americans in every single party majority do not trust the American electoral system as a whole. They don't. They do not trust it. And so extra steps must be taken to restore such trust. But if you're going to call it weaponization right after your state has been caught with a huge error, now people start to suggest there might be something rather insidious to the error.
As opposed to focusing on making sure that we're running free and fair elections. That's my focus. I would say again that Trump has done more to undermine our election system than anyone in my lifetime, including Vladimir Putin. He has attacked the 2020 election, which he ran. He has also sent out an insurrection against us when we were trying to certify that election.
Has been disproven so many times. It's so embarrassing.
He then has defunded all of the ways in which we protect and keep our elections safe. So contrary to what he's doing here in New Jersey, we are focused on running fair elections.
Yeah, it just so happens, though, that when you're not releasing any of that information under the guise of, well, it's an independent election, and then running out before reporters can ask you any question is a bad sign. Running out of the room when you just gave like your little gubernatorial pep speech, which is the exact same one that you just gave, not a good sign, folks. It's not. Radio crew, we're going to send you to your last commercial break here. It's the Tony Kinnett cast here on the Daily Signal. It gets worse. All right, while the radio crew is in their commercial, consider, for just a moment, subscribing to our brand new YouTube channel where we're airing a lot of stuff we don't have time to fit into this particular show in our broadcast time. That's at Tony Kinnett Cast over on YouTube, TonyKinnettCast. Consider doing a little subscribing. Let's move on, because that's not what this particular show is about. The media is really struggling here because the Democrats are starting to split on this. You know the Democrats' civil war is starting to get into some really oof territory when they start fighting with each other on voter ID. So it starts at the media. CNN host Michael Smerconish has made it very clear. I believe this was on Sirius satellite radio. Says, you just can't say that illegal immigrants aren't voting in American elections anymore. You can't say it.
There is no evidence that...
Hang on, that's not the clip I wanted. I wanted the clip of Michael Smerconish, not the group of Democrats saying that it doesn't happen. My goodness. Who could have done such a thing? Do we have that clip ready to go? Oh, it'll be a shame if we don't, because it's an absolutely stellar one. Oh, we might have to press on. Ah, what a shame. We'll keep on here. Our Elizabeth Mitchell, our White House correspondent, she did get a chance to talk to the press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, today, asking about what the Trump administration plans to do. Are there going to be prosecutions for these individuals who were caught voting illegally in elections, in federal elections?
Secretary Mullen said that election officials that knowingly allowed non-citizens to vote could be prosecuted and fined. Is this option being considered in New Jersey after the governor revealed that thousands of non-citizens were registered to vote there?
Well, for any prosecutions, obviously, I would always defer you to the Department of Justice. But what I will say on New Jersey and this governor, the fact that she just all of a sudden decided to put out a press release saying President Trump and Republicans have been right about non-citizens on our voting rolls is not a coincidence. I think this governor is saying this because she realizes this administration is serious about getting to the bottom of illegal aliens voting and being on our voter rolls in our country. The Secretary of Homeland Security, as you know, sent a letter to several states, including New Jersey, requesting that non-citizens that are on their voter rolls need to be reported to DHS and need to be removed from those voter rolls. So that's why all of a sudden she is speaking truth about the fact that this does take place in states across the country. It is completely unacceptable to have non-citizens on American voter rolls voting in U.S. elections.
Now, here's the other side here, because we do have this clip, and I want you to see the media trying to kind of come around, and it's really awkward for him. So here is CNN host Michael Smerconish on this.
We move very
There was an analysis in the Times in January on which I relied, January of 2026. Initial review finds no widespread illegal voting by migrants puncturing a Trump claim. And I remember discussing this at length, having guests on to talk about it, and then coming to the conclusion that you referenced, this doesn't happen. I can't say that any longer. I don't know how often it does happen, but I can't say any longer this never happens.
And here's the really rough part for people like Governor Mickey Sherrill of New Jersey, because she's claiming that all of this was just a glitch. It was just a glitch. So here's the rough part. Even if it was an initial glitch that caused the registration to occur, there are still 400 people who chose to then go and vote. So you can't make those kind of claims. And again, also announcing what it was or wasn't before the investigation is complete. Yeah, again, I just don't think that that's going to work the way that you believe it's gonna. Now, before we finish up here, I do want to make it perfectly clear that as we get into some of the next little bits, I think that we have all of our clips censored language-wise. But just in case we don't, viewer discretion advised, it's getting spicy. Radio crew, welcome back from the commercial break. We've got a little bit more as the Democrat Party splits on all things voter ID. Was not expecting this, was not hoping. Well, I won't say if I was hoping or not. I was not expecting in any way, shape, or form to see the Democrats in the United States trying to weasel their way around attacking each other over voter ID. But that is where we are. So, of course, you have the traditional side. You have like the Pramila Jayapal of Washington going out and trying to suggest that she's totally against insider trading. She just didn't vote for it. And she's also totally for voter ID. She just voted against it. Best of luck to you with this. Anyway, here's the line.
Should members of Congress be able to profit from their official position? Absolutely not.
But
86% of Americans agree with me that members of Congress should be banned from trading stocks.
But
it is the number one issue that people want us to take on to get rid of the corruption infiltrating our government.
Now, please don't look at her financial profile in which she has invested $737,500 in various stock market, mutual funds, tax managed U.S. Core 2, or of course her $1.7 million net. Don't look at any of that. That would be silly. But anywho, she's totally against it, guys. You got to believe her.
That is exactly why I have led on this issue. I've worked with colleagues on both sides of the aisle to put together a bipartisan bill that actually bans stock trading for members of Congress.
But
we've been trying to get Republicans and the Speaker to bring it to the floor, but they haven't, because they know that if they did, it would actually pass.
But hang on a second here. You've been talking to Republicans. Aren't they the majority in the House? What are you talking about here, Chief?
And there are big forces in some of the richest members of Congress who want to keep profiting off of insider trading and voting in the interests of their own pockets instead of your interests.
Okay.
That's just wrong.
Now here's the but, though.
They are taking it one step further. Instead of putting our bipartisan bill on the floor, Republicans are bringing a weak-ass bill to the floor that's called the, quote, Stop Insider Trading Act. Except, newsflash, it does not stop insider trading or stock trading.
So it does, actually. It does. So if you're going to make this argument, which is that she says there's a poison pill in the bill, which you could make the case there is. Thomas Massie was yelling about that or whatever. But it does, in fact, stop insider trading, stock trading by members of Congress. It does. It does, in fact, do those things. What she's mad about is that it also includes provisions for requiring voter ID for federal elections.
You heard me right. They're calling it one thing and hoping you don't notice that it does nothing to ban stock trading. Their BS bill still allows members of Congress to own and sell stocks based on insider information.
I've looked at the bill. It does not.
And to make legislative decisions based on whether or not it's good for the value of those stocks.
So the stocks that are referred to, it exempts basically long-term investments that are set and forget. So like a very diverse Morningstar mutual fund is left alone. Because if you just say, well, anything that benefits anything, well, then no bill would ever be allowed to pass because you would have people investing in any industry ever. What the bill says is you can't do like these active trades like, for instance, we saw Nancy Pelosi doing with like NVIDIA for ages and ages.
Not on whether it's good for their constituents.
However, she has reserved the worst part of her ire, though, for the new requirements for voting.
Fact. There are new requirements on voting, a new extremely limited set of documents that you would have to provide to vote.
It's not extremely limited.
And even new requirements on requiring copies to be sent in with mail-in ballots.
Copies to be sent in with mail-in ballots? Oh no, they might track mail-in ballots and make sure they're secure. Oh, the horror. Oh no.
That's all a surefire way to make it harder for all Americans to vote.
All Americans to vote.
Including young people, voters of color, tribal communities, and women.
Now, I like this one. I do. For a couple of reasons. First of all, let's hit tribal communities because it's easy. Not only do I have my own very fancy, wonderful little cards for my own ID and my passport and things, I also have this thing called a BIA card. I do. It's my tribal card that would allow me, if I wanted to, for some reason, to get really, really, really horrible dental care for free as a member of the actual, not Elizabeth Warren, Cherokee tribe. I could, if I wanted to. The very same card that would allow me, if I wanted to go run for the governor of the Cherokee section of Oklahoma. I don't know why I would do that, but that kind of a thing. Guess what? That's one of the acceptable pieces of ID. So she's lying there. The women thing is the suggestion that once women get married, they forget how documents work and that they're relegated forever to putting the wrong name in all the time. Oh no, the horror. So they're smart enough to notify the Social Security office of the name change, but not the DMV. Oh, wait, that's where they get their licenses from. So that's a big no. And then people of color. Nothing like saying black people are too stupid to get ID. There you go, sweetie.
So not only does the bill fail to stop Congress from profiting off of their positions of power, it also undermines our democracy. And
oh, no, it makes it harder for people who aren't citizens to vote. Now, again, the actual counter to this now is not from yours truly. The actual counter is from inside the party. So again, we're going to get into this. For example, James Carville, the mastermind of the Bill Clinton-style election, he now comes out here to suggest very, very clearly that if you're against voter ID, you're kind of really, really stupid. Because voter ID makes sense and you could just call Republicans on the carpet for this. Oops.
I don't know if we're not better off said, okay, we'll take that alternative ID, bring your gas bill or your light bill or something. Because for whatever reason, polls at 75%.
There you go. There are a lot of Democrats who are recognizing, and again, Carville's very anti-socialist in the party kind of a thing. He wants to win. He thinks it's going to crash. He's right, by the way, that it's going to crash it. So now going after the progressives over voter ID in the DNC. Oh, joy.
I don't make, but I don't think people are aware of it. I think people assume that voter fraud happened. Again, I don't even want to say it. If you want to say infinitesimal, I don't know if I could think of a word that would be even narrower than that. I would say that. And I don't like when we say, well, look.
So infinitesimal, he said like the amount of voter fraud is what he's saying. Even if it's really, really small, they still have to admit it's there. And that's the point of a law. Radio Crew will catch you guys tomorrow. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. See us on the live stream. Take care. Whew. I almost got absolutely neck chopped by the end of the show clock for radio. Sorry about that. So Carville kind of admits like, hey, look, it is out there. But again, that's not what the frequency of a crime does not change whether or not it should be a crime. Like even if your town only has one murder every couple of years, murder should still be illegal in your town. Duh.
It's a very minor problem, but you got to admit it barely exists.
What they're doing, by the way, when the media crews, like again, like you saw with the CNN host over on Sirius, saying, "Well, I don't really want to say it, but I mean, it is there." They now have to say that it matters and that it should be a thing. They have to admit that Americans want it, but then you have to explain why. Why all of a sudden? Why all of a sudden are you saying, yeah, Joe Biden was kind of old and dead? Why didn't you say it then? And they have to create this long, weaving, winding, through the woods on our way to grandma's house manner of explanation as to why the receipts show that they were against it 15 minutes ago. And when you get that, by the way, they don't know what to do. So if it's not a very carefully crafted thing, which again, nothing today is very carefully crafted at all, which is really embarrassing, then what you get is this weavy, stammery, well, it's not going to work, bud. Even though I'm enjoying, again, the Civil War fist fights are a real hoot.
And it doesn't make any sense. Having said that, we are not going to win the war against some kind of ID. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fix anything, but maybe you just go along with it and move to the next
Well,
thing.
James, let me disagree. We have voter ID in most states.
You love even his own, again, even on, Politicon, his co-host says, wait, what are you doing? What are you doing? We already have voter ID. What are you saying? Democrats aren't going to be able to pull this. Even on the media side, it's flipping. On ABC's This Week, the Sunday show, where John Carl, notable, very much not conservative, fact checks Senator Mark Warner of the Commonwealth of Virginia on voter ID. Oh, what a time. What a time to be alive. Check it out.
I understand that you and I think every other Democrat oppose this so-called Save America Act, and there's a lot of reasons that you've put forward. But let me ask you very narrowly on the issue of photo ID.
Are you sure you want to stand against photo ID while the New Jersey stuff is coming? Are you sure you want to do this in a midterm year? Is this the hill to die on? Really? Here?
Requiring photo ID to register to vote. Is this something that Democrats should get behind?
We have
80-some% of Americans, 71% of Democrats.
He's making the case very, very, very clear. Hey, this is what's going on. Hey, this is what is happening. Are you sure? He's giving him, by the way, this would be soft handing from an interviewer. In case this is a soft handing, because the interviewer, is saying, are you sure you want it? You kind of give him a double check here, like a little chance.
Democrats say they favor this?
You know what? In Virginia, we have voter ID and photo ID. I got to show my...
That's actually not the case. I mean, I'm a Virginia voter. You don't need to show a photo ID in Virginia.
Incredible. I love it. I love it. Oh, we have voter ID. Actually, no, I'm a voter in Virginia. You may have noticed that this studio is here in Virginia next to DC. And Breaker, I vote here, and we're going to get roasted if you're on ABC, an FCC regulated, licensed show that's going out on affiliate stations around the country for their Sunday programming slots. I know, because our show is, strangely enough, sometimes bordered up like after it on some of like the paid programming slots that they need to fill. Just some transparency with you, how you do things at time to time. John Carl here's like, dude, you're going to get us fined if you lie here. So I got to fact check you in the middle of it.
There are a wide range of things you can show for ID, and if you don't show one of those, you can sign an affidavit saying
sign an
attesting.
affidavit,
But so it's not.
Mark Warner's like scrambling. He's like, whoa. Okay, so you don't have to show an ID, but you do have to sign a piece of paper. Yeah, that'll get it. If I'm pretending to be someone else, let's play the part of the criminal here for a second. Let's say that I am going to go vote for Mark Warner. I am going to commit voter fraud. I am going to get to the polls before Mark Warner does, and I'm going to vote Republican. Oh no. So here's what I do. I show up with an old Blockbuster card that I've scribbled Mark Warner onto the back with. Yeah. And then I share a Costco card. I shave the beard, and I look really sad and depressed and like I've had way too much to drink for 10:30 a.m. And then if you kind of squint your eyes, kind of Mark Warner, you know? And then I go there and they're like, hey, you don't have like the approved IDs here. Are you willing to sign an affidavit? And I go, yeah, I sure am. And so I get out my handy dandy pen and I get out you get out the affidavit paperwork for me here. And I'm like, okay, you're going to sign this affidavit. And I say, okay, Mark Warner, promise that this is in fact me, Mark Warner. And you know why that works? Because guess what? On the affidavit, there's not magic paper from Hogwarts that magically says, oh, this signature's not from Mark Warner. It's from Tony Kennett. You don't have to be this retarded. For some people, it's choice.